Maniacs, welcome back to the channel, your local bedhead here. Now, I released a video earlier, and I've gotten a lot of heat for my opinion on the whole situation of Mythos's video, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and watch the entire clip, because as you guys know, I've said it many times in that video that I did not watch the entire interview. And I'm assuming this takes place in the part of the segment, or part of the interview that says Devil's Rocking Chair, because that's what they were kind of going on when they made that comment, or Sam made that comment. I'm going to go ahead and watch the full clip to make sure I didn't take anything out of context, or maybe there was more that was explained after the fact. I do trust Mythos Paranormal. I have a lot of respect for the guy. I just want to make sure I get my opinion right, because there are some people out there thinking that because I watched Mythos's video, that was just my legitimate opinion, and I was just agreeing with them just to agree with them. No, honestly, God, there are going to be some things that I will probably disagree on. Now, obviously, where my point stood on Sam's comment is that words can be taken out of context. And there are people out there saying that, you know, it could have been a moment of dark sense of humor. People saying I'm attacking people with dark sense of humor, which I'm really not. But you got to understand, too, that even knowing, yes, you could take it as a dark sense of humor, the paranormal is something that there are a lot of people who take very seriously because they truly want to believe in an afterlife. They want to believe that their loved ones are still around them. And again, coming off of defending Satori and Cody, which they were, sorry, but they were, and people saying that I'm a Sam and Colby hater, again, goes to show that they really don't watch my channel. I am not a Sam and Colby hater. It's just sometimes when I see certain things that are said and are done or whatnot. I mean, hell, I've even made videos about, you know, Sam having a seizure. And I've made videos on a video on that saying how, you know, I hope he's okay and stuff. And I've made videos on their Instagram posts, depending on what it's about. I mean, I've talked about the smaller things, too, that they could have said or could have, you know, what the meanings are behind this Instagram story or whatnot. So this is not really nothing new for me. Because people are always asking me about certain things with Sam and Colby, like, oh, did you see when they posted this? Did you see when they posted that? So I just feel it's easier to make videos on it and get my opinion out there so they don't ask me all those questions anymore. So when this came up, people were asking me to react to it. And when people ask me to react to stuff, guys, I'm probably going to react to it. And whether you agree or disagree with what I say isn't really the issue. I mean, hell, you don't even have to agree with me, and it's okay. I'm just saying this whole with Mythos's video is that certain things can be taken out of context. When he looked at those two hosts, and look, when Graham said, you know, you guys could, you know, but you'd be dead, and then they look at him like, yeah, but I'd go to heaven. And they look at him like, oh, we just made a point. What are you going to say about that? That's not really a moment of a dark sense of humor, depending on how they respond afterwards, which I'm going to find out. So again, if there are anybody out there who actually watched that and wish that I actually had reacted to the full clip, maybe because there's something I missed, or maybe something was taken out of context, well, I'm about to watch it right now, and then you guys will hear my personal thoughts. But I will react to it, so you guys, you know, if you want to hear my personal thoughts, this is it right here. So let's go ahead and watch the full clip, and I'll let you guys know what I think.
You were telling me about haunted objects a long time ago. Could you go into some detail about that? Because there are a few things that you said that really stood out to me.
And I'm assuming this is the Devil's Rocking Chair segment because it does say Devil's Rocking Chair. So let's go ahead.
Some objects like carry the spirits with them, and like if you there are stories that you've seen of like people touching certain objects and then like bad things happen to them.
Yeah, I mean. In Vegas,
yeah,
Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum is
Yeah.
probably the biggest spot for all the haunted objects of the world, where he, like, for example, let us sit in the Devil's Rocking Chair,
And what
which
is that?
was another Conjuring movie,
Yeah.
I believe. It was like a Conjuring sequel.
The Conjuring 3
The Devil
is
Made Me
based
Do
on
It.
This exorcism, and this specific
Yeah.
rocking chair was there during
Devil
the
Made Me
actual
Do It.
exorcism in the 1970s. But yeah, it's thought to believe that just like a place could be haunted, something could haunt an object, and that could be the vessel that it's with there. So anyway, right next to this chair, this kid named David Glatzel was thought to be possessed, and they had multiple, I think, but at least one exorcism on this guy that, you know, said to have multiple demons attached. We don't know, whatever it was. And then people said that right after the exorcism, people could see something that they coined the beast sitting in this rocking chair, this mist, whatever it was, and they were so scared of it. And then after that, no one sat in this chair for what, 30 years, 50 years now,
I don't
guess.
even know.
And then they sold it to Zach Bagans, and he's been the only person to sit in it ever since that whole exorcism deal. And then he let us sit in the same chair.
For the first time.
Why would you do that? Like just in case. Like, why risk it?
Again, because if I died by doing that, that would be the coolest thing in the world because it would prove to me it's all real.
But you would be dead.
But now I would go to heaven.
But what if it's a negative like demon or something like that that does not take you to heaven? And because you sat in that chair, like this thing attached onto you and is like pulling you down, or like bad things.
Thinking about that.
Okay, so me looking back on this, it doesn't really feel like a moment of a dark sense of humor. It looked like a moment of they actually felt like they were making a legitimate point, and then the guy actually makes a better point, and then now they're like, you make a good point right there. So I'm not really sure where people were coming from that I was insulting anybody with a dark sense of humor. I'm all for dark senses of humor. I just think about other people, and I think about what they could take out of context. So yeah, that doesn't really come off to me like, we'll keep playing it, obviously, but yeah, now they're just kind of smiling and just being like, oh, yeah, well, that's a good point, I guess. It's like, but if you go back, it does kind of sound like they kind of believed in what they were saying. And Colby being, the guy who's going to go along with his buddy, he kind of just looked at him like, yeah, but he made a point there, didn't he? So yeah, there's that.
Bad things happen to you in your life because you sat in that chair and like that negativity, something like caused a little change.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest too, like a big reason we did it was because we were like we can't turn down this opportunity.
The concept.
But what happened when you sat in the chair?
Well, we both did the Estes method in the chair. And you had more of an intense experience than I did, but we definitely both felt like heavy. Like something was almost like not letting us stand up. You were kind of like shaking and freaking out though towards the end of yours.
It was very weird. Like I've still, I think still, have never had an experience like this. I sat in this chair, and I want to put it out there for all the skeptics. It could be me psyching myself out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. If not, I sat in this chair. And
Well, I mean, that's kind of good that he's self-acknowledging that, right? I mean, it could have been him psyching himself out, which if you're sitting in a chair called the Devil's Rocking Chair, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to, freak yourself out enough to where it's like you might start shaking the longer you're in it, right? You might be starting to think in your head that, okay, something bad could happen. And the things that were coming through the Estes method at the time really could have been freaking him out. So, yeah, 100%.
And within, I was probably only sitting in this chair for a minute. My legs felt almost immediately like I ran like a half marathon. Like I was instantly tired. They're shaking. They're almost painful, like hard. And I was like, okay, well, let me try to stand up. And it was almost like I was sore immediately. Like, why? I'm just sitting in a rocking chair. And I stood up, and it took a good, couple minutes for me to feel better about everything and snap out of it. But it was genuinely not only an emotional switch, but I could physically feel a difference in my legs after sitting in this chair. And I've never experienced anything like that before.
What was your experience?
Mine was similar but less intense. So I just kind of felt like pressure on me, like something kind of almost not forcing me, but trying to get me to sit longer, like don't get up or whatever, thoughts in the head that would pop up being it just felt heavy in my legs, they weighed a little bit more than usual, but I was able to stand up pretty fine. And
See, I would love for you to take two random people on the street and have them sit on two chairs and just say, sit in this chair for 1 minute, sit in this chair for 1 minute. All right, what do you think? And just see if they're
And not tell them either way.
Don't tell them
could
either
be
chair.
placebo.
Right. And just say, did what was more comfy? What did you feel like
Curse
afterwards?
what a random person.
I
for
know.
all of eternity.
Well, that was haunted.
And then tell them, well, no one sat in that chair for 50 years and it said they had to.
Now that is a dark sense of humor. Now that right there is a dark sense of humor. That you could definitely tell they both all just started chuckling at and laughing at, oh yeah, no, yeah, we cursed one person on the street and started laughing. That's a dark sense of humor moment. This moment did not feel like a dark sense of humor, if I had to be blunt and honest with you.
Just in case. Why risk it?
Again, because if I died by doing that, that would be the coolest thing in the world because it would prove to me it's all real.
But you would be dead.
But now I would go to heaven.
But what if
You see, it didn't. At that moment, I think they were trying to make a point. I don't think they were thinking when they said that. And again, a moment that could be taken out of complete context, right? I mean, especially after we just how far back was it? The experience at the Conjuring house. So it's literally right before, and then they get right into the Devil's Rocking Chair. So again, talking about Satori and Cody and their method and everything. I'm not sure if we're supposed to know everything about the afterlife, but then he talks about the idea that if he were to die during one of these things, he'd be okay with it. Now, the Devil's Rocking Chair situation happened years, like not years, months before they went to the Conjuring house, but still, right? Right? It was just an odd moment. And again, I do think it is a moment where he just was not thinking when speaking. This is something I talked about. My reaction, of course, was just it was very emotional because it was my first time hearing him say it, and I just went off of it. But going back and watching the full clip, I can definitely say now that yes, it does actually sound like he actually does mean what he says. And again, you can tell the difference between a dark, humorous moment and then a moment of where he's just trying to make a good point, but it just does not come off like a good point. That doesn't mean he's a bad person. Okay, I know people want to believe that just because he messes up, that means he's a bad person. And I'm not going back on what I said. So I know there's going to be people in the comment section, well, you're going back on what you said because, you couldn't handle the heat. No, calm down. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I wanted to give you guys more context of the clip so I can make my fair point again. But I do stand by what I say when I said that can be taken out of context. Now, I do like dark senses of humor. Okay, I do. But anybody can see that they really believed in what they were saying here. Mythos wasn't wrong. He does make a good point. They do certainly look like they believe in what they...
For the first time.
Why would you do that? Like, just in case. Like, why risk it?
Again, because if I died by doing that, that would be the coolest thing in the world because it would prove to me it's all real.
But you would be dead.
But I would go to heaven.
But what if?
And then he goes, I can tell the difference. I'm not an idiot. And maybe to you guys, some of you guys, maybe I am an idiot. Maybe I am misreading this. But to me, when it looks like on camera, it just looks like a moment of two guys trying to make a decent point.
He's been the only person to sit in it ever since that.
Like, why risk it?
Again, because if I died by doing that, that would be the coolest thing in the world because it would prove to me it's all real.
But you would be dead.
But
Even Graham's like, but you'd be dead. And then he tries to make a point saying, but I would know it's real. But I'd go to heaven. I know it's real.
I would go to heaven.
But then I'd go to heaven. How do you know? How do you know? Right? I'm not saying Sam's a bad person or anything, but like, how do you know?
But what?
And then he looks at them both like, don't you get it, guys? Don't you get it? The whole point behind it?
What if it's a negative, like, demon or something like that does not take you to heaven?
Yeah, because, when people supposedly get possessed, the demon is trying to take your soul. So if a demon is in your body, right, or how Sam likes to put it, up his ass, and he is completely just taken over by this demonic presence, then I'm not sure if you're just going to go to heaven. The goal of the demon is to try to steal your soul for hell, right? That's the point. That's the argument. And even they were like, yeah, he's making some good points here. See him looking over at him and stuff, then he looks back at him. You see, I look at the small things that could be going through his eyes. He's smiling, trying to act nice and everything about it.
Pulling you down.
And then he's like, yeah, it's true. It's true. Guys, I did not take that out of context. They completely 100% believed in what they said right there. And it just wasn't a good overall viewpoint on the whole subject. It certainly was not a moment of a dark sense of humor. It looks like they got caught just saying something not the smartest, and they completely were self-acknowledging it at that point.
Or like bad things.
Think about that one.
Yeah, even he's like, yeah, I didn't think about that one. And then they're like, yeah. See, yeah, no, it was not a moment of a dark sense of humor. It legitimately looks like a moment. And this guy comes off to me like he's not maybe 100% a believer in the paranormal. I'm confident that I heard him say that he wasn't. And he's telling them things that he is aware of that they come off like they weren't thinking about at that moment. Like, but what if it's a dark entity? What if it's a demon and it wants to take your soul to hell or something? And they're like, that's a fair point. Because, you don't call the devil's rocking chair because it's a good thing. It's like if it has a demon attached to it, right? I mean, that's the whole story, right? Next.
Happened to you in your life because you sat in that chair and like that negativity, something.
Marathon. Like, I was instantly tired. There it's like this. It's like marathon.
Longer? Like don't.
What did you feel like
Curse
afterwards?
one random person.
I
for
know.
eternity.
You see, you can tell the difference. I know people are giving me shit for it. I know people are giving Mythos some shit for it. But no, that was a genuine moment of them thinking that they were making a point, and it just did not come off the way they wanted. So whether that was accidental or on purpose, it was careless, right? It was just a careless moment. Unfortunately, it was just a moment of not thinking properly. and they just spoke and tried to make a point out of it, and it was just not the proper point. Now, going back to why the Mythos video really got under my skin was really because of the story he told at the end of it, where this person tried to take his own life because of the lie that the Satori and Cody were saying, that, you know, he was trying to communicate with his friend, and he thought he was communicating with his friend, and then all this stuff comes out about Satori and Cody, and then he tried to off himself. That is a terrifying concept. It is. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're somebody who's out there saying, well, I like dark senses of humor. Well, these, you know, pussy fucking individuals can't handle, you know, some certain things. And you know what? Boo-hoo. It's like, you know, you're the kind of people I'm not really a big fan of. Like, I myself like dark senses of humor. I do. By God. Right? I love that shit. There are some disrespectful things when, especially talking about, you know, deceased people and the paranormal and how people are out there actually wanting to believe in this stuff. There are moments where dark humor doesn't work and it falls flat. Maybe for some people it doesn't. You know, comedy is very subjective. I do try to think about other people. I do try to think about what could possibly be taken out of context, what could be said that might affect somebody. And there's, without question, you know, people who might be affected by that. I know for a fact there are people affected by that because of the Mythos video, and I see some comments. I know there are people affected by lacks of caring. And look, this may be a giant moment. Even Mythos didn't come off like he was trying to put a lot of heat on Sam and Colby. Moments like that, you know, maybe, you know, they don't need it to be called out. Maybe they're self-aware of it now, and that's fine. Maybe Sam and Colby are in their house saying, you know what, maybe that wasn't a good thing to say. Maybe we kind of fucked up right there. Maybe, and they could be completely in self-acknowledge of that, and I'll acknowledge that myself. Maybe they are already aware of what they said, and they're like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. We're all human. Let's take it for what it is. We're all human beings who say some dumb things every once in a while. I say some dumb things every once in a while. I'll completely acknowledge that. And it was just one of those moments. That it was really just one of those moments where it could easily be taken out of self-context. And I apologize if I got a little bit heated and I got a little bit emotional in my reaction. That happens from time to time, you know? It is what it is. It does not come off to me like I took that out of context. Watching the whole clip as it is right now, and I'm going to go ahead and finish it up really quick, the whole segment.
And they tell him, well, no one sat in that chair for 50 years, and it said you have demonic possession.
And they're like,
you signed the waiver.
Yeah. It's like,
True.
Oh, yeah.
Waiver.
No, that was one of the most unique experiences for sure. Definitely.
Is there any object that you would not touch that is
Dibbuk,
maybe like...
Dibbuk Box or whatever that thing is. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's in his museum as well, if we're talking about the same
Does
thing.
he
Oh,
have
okay,
that
yeah.
same box?
So he has the box where, if you guys have heard the story of Post Malone getting cursed, have you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. So Post Malone's super into the haunted stuff, and Zach Bagans invited him out to his museum, and they were doing a private tour. Zach has like a Dibbuk Box room, and the only thing in it is the Dibbuk Box in this glass case in the middle of the room. And they took it out of the plexiglass around it and didn't even touch it. They got near it. They freaked out for some reason. Like they either heard something or felt something. Can't remember, but they freaked out for
Zach
some reason.
touched it, but his post didn't.
Okay, Post Malone didn't. Zach did. He started freaking out. They ran out of the room. Whatever. Like for the next month or two afterwards, like Post Malone almost got in a plane crash. His house got robbed.
He got
it was
in
like a
car
lot of different
crash.
things. Car
I think it was
crash.
at least 3 or 4 things that were like life-threatening, really intense situations, all within. I thought it was closer
even
than that, like
know.
1 month.
1 or 2.
months.
Like don't quote
It's
us on that,
crazy.
but
And that's
very
what it's known
recently
for,
after.
right? The Dibbuk Box just gives people really bad
Yeah.
and unfortunate luck and circumstances.
Even Graham is kind of like, you know, holding his hand over his mouth, kind of being freaked out by that story a little bit. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, Post Malone doesn't come off like the person to just lie about something, right? I mean, that's certainly not the person I take him for. So there could have been truth to that. There could have been actually something there that may have affected them, for all I know. Of course, I wasn't in the room and I didn't feel what they felt. You know, Zach Bagans to me doesn't come off like the most honest person, but Post Malone doesn't really come off like a liar either. Seems like a very sweet, genuine guy. I don't think he would have lied about something like that. And yeah, no one would just crash their car. No one would try to, you know, no one would hire someone to rob their house or anything like that. So it's crazy how a lot of bad luck started happening after that situation. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, because basically in Jewish folklore, a Dibbuk is like a demon that got trapped into this box. So obviously, like, don't open the box because the demon will be released. But obviously people make a million Dibbuk boxes. Like you can buy them on eBay and stuff if you want. Like,
Right.
so
But that one is the real one.
that's a real one.
It's the most famous one.
Yeah.
Why don't you go and touch it and then document what happens afterwards? Would you do it?
Zach Bagans.
I was gonna say next video.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, is that the
That'd be
line?
awesome.
Is that too far? It's like you do anything except for touching the Dibbuk box 'cause you don't want to die. Like that's too far because then that could
I'll
also
take
be
a bath with the Dibbuk Box. Let's go.
because but no. Here's the
Whoa.
thing: if
Hey,
I'm, not gonna, if something were to happen, you couldn't say that was 100%.
See, look how serious Graham is when answering these questions and how they're trying to make jokes about it. And he's like, no, let's take this seriously for a minute, guys. Let's say if this actually has an effect on you. I mean, look, Post Malone almost got killed a couple times, supposedly because of this thing. Would you still do it? And he's like, I'll take a bath with it and stuff. It's like, okay, dark sense of humor and whatnot. There, a few of them are laughing in there, but he's actually like trying to make a point about it, right? I mean, clearly. Okay, so that's the end of the Devil's Rocking Chair segment. And it's kind of cool. I didn't know they plan on going to the Warrens Museum at some point this year. So that should be interesting. But yeah, going back to that, I wanted to make this video to kind of give more context because I know there were people on the video that were really pissed off at me and giving me shit and everything. Maybe, react to the full clip and see where's what. And yeah, it's just, I've already said it a million times. I don't have to say it again. But yeah, just a moment that could be taken out of context, guys. Even I can, of course, fuck up sometimes. So if I did fuck up in your eyes, my apologies. I wasn't trying to. But I do stand by what I said, that it was a careless moment for sure. Regardless if it was a dark sense of humor moment, it was a kind of a careless just situation where something maybe should not have been said, or trying to make a point about something that clearly just wasn't in good taste at all. And that's just one of the moments that just happened right there. But, since people were asking me to react to the Mythos video and hear his video and whatnot and do a reaction, I did. And you know what? I got to defend myself in some certain situations. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and just watch that full segment and then give you guys my thoughts afterwards. And yeah, my opinion still stands. So let me know what you guys think down below. Until next time, do take care. I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. Even the people who completely disagree with me on this one. I understand where you're coming from, but if I'm talking about that comment, it wasn't a good comment, and it wasn't good taste in my personal opinion. And then again, then they show you a moment of really dark humor, and then they're all laughing because it was a moment of dark humor, and yeah. So anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.